I hope you're all have had or are having a wonderful summer holiday. I'm a neuroscientist and I've been curious about one thing. Why, if the brain is so powerful and can do so much, why is it that we are only exploiting a tiny part of it to educate our children? This problem has obsessed me, I suppose, since 1985, when I really started to work on how the brain learns. Now we know that the brain itself, it can handle 40 languages fluently. It can handle mathematics from 1 + 1 to the mathematics of Einstein. We know that it is built into two halves, one left, one right. Within these 3.5-pound oven-ready chicken, so to speak, lies all our dreams, our expectations, our fears, our emotions. It is us. And our body is purely a carrier for it. So why is it that we cannot use more of its power? There are many windows we can have to its power. One being those people who are termed as savants. These are people with extraordinary skills, giving us a window into the power of the brain. For instance, there's that young lady. She's from Sofia in Bulgaria. She lived in the slums of the city, and even our most socially deprived areas could not equal where she came from. Yet, with her parental guidance, certainly her father, she was able to play chess at staggering levels when she was 8. And recently, she's been filmed walking up a sidewalk in New York, and she is on a mobile phone. Who is she talking to? 5 grandmasters of chess, each sat behind their own boards. Remember, she's doing it all from memory. She plays them, and she beats them, each one, playing 5 games with 5 grandmasters, all at the same time. And there is the gentleman from Liverpool, who, after a brain hemorrhage, was able to paint so well that some people compare him with Picasso. Yet, till his brain hemorrhage, he had never picked up a paintbrush. So what is it that makes these people like it? Well, the one thing we know for certain was that it was their left brain that controls our right had been reduced in its power, thus releasing more power in the right hemisphere. Now, if we could do that in education, we could then lift the grades of all students, and particularly those 40% that fail in their education. I believe strongly that the secret lies in this hemispheric balance. And this is what I want to explain to you in far more detail. And to do that, I'll move over to the gazebo and use a whiteboard to draw it for you. Hello, and welcome back to my gazebo and the whiteboard. I want to explain on the whiteboard a little bit more about the theory that I was discussing earlier. If I draw a line, and we'll call this our hemispheric dominance line, over here we'll put the left brain, LB, and over here we'll put it in red, the right brain. In the center we can draw a vertical line, which is the balance line. And here I'm going to divide these two halves into three. One, extremely affected, highly affected, and moderately affected, which we'll put an M. And here we'll do the same. Extremely affected over here, we'll put the E. Here we'll put the high, H. And here we will put the moderate. Okay, we call students in this area ASLs, auditory sequential learners. So I'll put up ASL. Here we can put up in red the VSL, visual spatial learners. Now let's put in over all of this the sort of distribution curve we would have from any year group of students. We go up and then down, showing that majority of the students lie in this sort of area. And then as they move across here, here we have the A stars here, and here we have the ones that find school very difficult, VDs, right down there. Okay, so let's have a look at, first of all, the ASLs. What are the characteristics of an ASL? They're very attentive in class. They grab and can assimilate knowledge very quickly. They're good at spelling and maths. They're easy to teach. They're good at essay writing, but they generally have a poor imagination. They have a great sense of time. They're very good at explaining things back to you after you've given them a question. They can recall almost word for word what you've said to them. They enjoy words. But they tend not to have, or not so good at sport, at art, dance, music. Let's have a look at the VSL. The VSL, usually they will demonstrate poor behavior. They have a very low attention span. They're creative. They love drawing. They love art. They love dance. They love music. Anything to express themselves physically. They have a very poor attention to time. In fact, they're always turning up from lessons late. They know things, but they can't explain why they know them. They usually have a wild imagination. At night, they will tend to have vivid dreams. They want to walk around in class, which disrupts. And when you tell them things, they very rarely can remember them. They talk incessantly in class. And generally, they're a pain to teach. And of course, as you move along that scale, the worse they get. Therefore, if we can teach this group of students to their own hemispheric dominance, which you can, then what we would do is to move this distribution curve quite substantially, which would affect your score quite dramatically. That shift would make a difference of maybe 30% to your school's results. This is why I think we should really concentrate on this brain dominance theory. So how can we help you? Well, we can help you in one day to do the following. One, we can identify for you the VSLs we can categorize them into extreme, highly effective, and moderately affected. This will take about 10 minutes with a class of 30 children. We can then take all of our results and furnish you with, on the day, a report of who are the students that should have a change in the way they're taught. We can also take highly effective and extremely effective students on the VSL scale or on the right brain dominance scale, and we will teach them in a sample method in maths, in English and in science, to show your teachers how little change they need to make in their classroom. But teachers, there is a caveat to this. The caveat is this, that it will take your right brain, or the student's right brain, about 14 days to build up an effective coping strategy to cope with their left brain learning environment. This is why we must act very quickly. Once established, it'll take L's own job to move them back again. With the consequence, you'll have continuing misbehavior, you will have problems with these students in learning, and above all, at the end of their school time, they will fail. For you see, to a VSL or right brain dominant student, school in a way is a hell. They're in a prison. They cannot express themselves in the way that they wish to cater for their learning style. Thank you for listening to me.